And we're live. We're live with Isabel and Jock. Isabel and Jock have been known to Pen Dance for a while, known to me. They are the founders and the lead coaches and the coaches at Straeon Acting Studio. It's an international acting studio. I have a feeling you all are gonna do a better job introducing yourselves than I will. So you can tell our audience a little bit about what you do with Straeon. Jock?
Okay, well, both of us have been actors, writers, and directors for many years. And we kind of take what we've learned from that experience, from working on a set in different ways. And we've taken that and kind of applied that to our workshops. We have live workshops and Zoom workshops as well, and students from pretty much all over the world. And really work on them because of the changes we've seen in the industry in terms of technology, scripts, and even the audience, which we kind of saw coming about 10 years ago or so. We developed this program of constantly updating what we're doing in order to get our actors ready for work on an actual set. The way a set is today is very different than the way it was even 10, 15 years ago. So that's sort of what we do.
Yeah, all our methodologies or techniques, they come from our experience working on a set, on stage, working with actors. I've worked with people from everywhere, from Europe, North America. I'm from Brazil, so I worked with people from Brazil too. And, different cultures have different ways to go about it. So we try to take all of that into consideration. And like Jock said, we have actors from all over the world, from many different backgrounds and levels of experience. But we are always kind of fine-tuned into what's new. So, we're paying attention. We are checking out the new scripts coming out and seeing the differences in those scripts, how lean they are right now, for example, or how movies are being shot. So we're taking all of that into consideration, and we are always adapting how we coach, which, by the way, we coach actors. We don't teach them. Right. We don't teach them like Meisner technique or, very specific technique. It's sort of like sports people. We take that actor and we see where they are and what are the strengths. So we leave that alone, or we kind of try to help them through that venue, and then we check what's not working, and then we try to give them some tools so they can be better at what they do. So it's very personalized.
Yeah, individualized training, and we try to keep the teaching environment as close to an actual set as we can. We do have cameras in class, and our next spring workshop will be working with different framing, as well as different things that'll be happening on a set today compared with in the past, things like self-tapes and things like that.
Yep.
I think this is one of the biggest draws, and this is going back to 2015, 2006, I want to say 2016, when I think Jackie and Mirko told me about Straeon, and that was my first introduction to check this out. And it's, the reviews that I've heard for Straeon from actors who've attended your workshops, they're not check it out reviews. They're glowing reviews. They're passionate, I'm going to be part of this studio for the rest of my life reviews. And whenever you can provoke that type of thing, it does, at least in me, provokes a sense of curiosity to understand what you're doing that perhaps other acting studios are not, and what other acting coaches are not. And one of the biggest things that I noticed immediately from working with your actors is exactly what you're talking about, is that they are prepared to be on set. There's a there's a concise understanding on their part of the fact that this is a big production. It's a production, and they are a part of that production. And, this is not to talk about any other acting studios. It's not here to do that. But having worked with other actors and maybe talking a little bit about their techniques, there seems to be a little bit more coddling, and it doesn't simulate that set environment. So I think that's a brilliant approach. Where does that come from? Is it your own experiences?
It's been our experiences. Yeah. When I started acting, I worked with people. I was kind of lucky at the beginning that in Brazil, I got to right away, like I was 6 months into acting school, and I got an invitation to do an audition for a big project with people with a lot of experience. And my teachers encouraged me a lot to do it. And so from the get-go, I was thrown into this very professional environment, and I was watching those people who knew a lot more than I did, you know, and learning from that, how to behave, how to be prepared. It's like I didn't take anything for granted. We do the same in class. We tell them, you got to be here on time. You got to show up for your rehearsals with your scene partners. You have to be here for your first work. You have to be prepared. You have to come with costumes and set. You need to know what's going on in the story, in the whole story, not just your scene. You know, so we're always pushing them be on time. We're always pushing them to have discipline and to have respect for this art, and to understand that, you know, it's a mega collaboration between a lot of people, and they have to respect that as well. Everybody's working in a way, everybody's supporting them, you know, because they're creating this whole environment, this whole world in which they're going to be playing in. So they got to have an appreciation for that.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure how much we coddle them. I think we throw them against the wall a few times. But from my point of view, it comes from quite a few years of experience and quite a bit of different training from New York and LA mostly. And always realizing that what Isabel stated, that there's a real difference between a coach and a teacher. And a lot of acting classes are teachers.
Teaching.
They have a specific knowledge that they want to impart to these students. And that's a teaching process. A coach is something that's an ongoing process. A lot of those major stars out there have coaches. They're just not allowed to tell you that. So a coach is something exactly as she described. We take what's there and develop it to where we know it needs to go today. And today, what these actors need to do is very different than what they needed to do, you know, even 20 years ago. So we look at some of these technique classes, and they're more like history lessons than anything, which are valid. But it's like 50 years ago, that's what was happening. And now our world as filmmakers has changed radically. And so we're constantly trying to keep up to date with that, and to help them individually. Sometimes we need to be tough. Sometimes we do need to coddle and just get them to where we know we can get them.
I think the main idea is, I'd like for everyone to understand, is that actors, you know, they are the instrument through which the story plays. So it's very different when you think of music, for example, and you play the guitar, you know, that's an instrument that is outside of yourself and you're playing that. But an actor, he's not only the instrument, but he is playing in an art that is about human beings. So it's very complex. It's very complex because it's a very vulnerable place to be. You have a lot of subconscious mechanisms in there. You know, fight responses and things like that you're not even, as an actor, you're not even sometimes aware of. Most of the time you're not aware of. When you get a new script and you're going into that reality to play this other person, you have no idea what are the triggers that are going to come up, or what buttons are going to be pushed. And so there is a lot of getting to know yourself in that sense, you know, getting to know your instrument, getting to know yourself psychologically, physically, emotionally, and being able to tap into the creativity. So it's a whole process that we're going to be kind of talking about today. But it's very complex. It's not just memorizing lines, you know, and hitting the mark and putting the pause where it says. It's beyond that. It's way beyond that.
Absolutely. And you know, a lot of the Penance Film Festival so far has been about subversion, juxtaposition. These are big themes that are being explored through our films, but also through our panels and workshops. And I think one of the most interesting things was said by Aidan Lesser yesterday. I don't know if he said it I think he said it on one of these live Q&As when he was talking about his film, and I asked he and Matthew what's one thing he would like to get better at. And I think I don't remember Matthew's response right now, but I do remember Aiden's specific to this, and he said that he wanted to get better at working with actors. I've told a lot of directors to go audit an acting class, and I'm usually met with a why. Why would I do that? Do you think it would be relevant? I know that you have had directors in your class
Oh, yeah.
taken it with no real expectation or understanding that they would ever audition for anything. They just wanted to explore this. So talk about the relevance and maybe the benefit of directors auditing an acting class.
We get directors for exactly what you're describing. They come to us and say, I'm a director. I don't really want to be an actor or anything, but I really need to know what this is that these actors do. And they figured out the best way to do it is to jump in.
They usually get excited about it. I mean, they come in to try to understand what actors are doing. And I think that what unites actors and directors is their love for storytelling. They both love telling stories, and they come in and they get excited. The directors, they get excited about the scene work that they are experiencing. So I think especially the process, because they see the evolution from take 1, 2, 3, 4, where we're trying to bring the actors in class. And so as a human being, I think it's a very interesting process.
Yeah. I think it would be valuable. We definitely would love to have any of your people watching this, to get in touch with us and come and audit a class and see what we do, because it is very much in the class. We do both. We're coaching mostly, but we're also directing at times. When the actors reach a certain level, then our notes and something are more like what they would get from a director. And we're always telling them, okay, this is coaching. We're coaching you now, or now we're directing you. So I think it would be valuable. Our class is a little different than most, because you're seeing the whole process that the actor has to go through, and you're seeing how incredibly how many incredible varieties there are to the actors. As Isabel pointed out before, every piano in the world's the same. Every guitar in the world is, basically the same.
Kind of the same.
But the instrument that that a story plays through is a human being, and human beings they're infinitely different. So to think that there's a specific process or technique for acting is a little naive, I think. And that's our process. Is each one is a unique instrument, and helping them learn how to play it is really what we're doing. But it's important for directors to know that, this actor that they're working with and how they work and their process is going to be very different from the actors next to them in the scene. It's going to be very different. And there are some things that directors should know about that process.
Okay.
General things.
So, I mean, I'm a director. I've directed 13, 14 films, and I've always wanted to get better at working with actors. I learn a lot from actors that I work from. I'm usually quite collaborative in terms of, in the beginning, I wasn't so collaborative. I was very iron-fisted, but I learned very quickly that I didn't know what I was doing. And I've learned so much from some of the actors that I've worked with. What's one thing, it's probably like a million things, but one thing specific that comes to mind that you think directors often get wrong working with actors? Or is this not a one-size-fits-all thing where everybody makes a different mistake?
Yeah.
Just something that you see come up a lot. It's
artwork, right? I think the biggest mistake I see sometimes from directors and actors is approaching this as rocket science. It's always like step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have a formula, and it's so not like that. It's every project is massively different. I mean, you've directed many films, that. Every time you get a new script, then it's a whole different creative process at times, and that's very true for actors. I think the main thing I'd like directors to know, and hopefully they do, is that you have to cast right. Casting is 90% of the job done, because you might have a beautiful picture, beautiful soundtrack, beautiful lighting, you know, and your actors are not delivering the story, you have a worthless movie. So
Whoa.
it,
Yeah.
in a way, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm sitting in the theater and I'm saying, oh wow, these images are beautiful, and at the end I'm not transformed by the story you're telling, you know, I might as well go see a photography exposition. But it's 90% of the work done is casting. I think directors, I see a director as a conductor in an orchestra. It's the person with the vision. You're the one uniting everyone in this huge collaboration. You know, you're uniting the cinematographer with the set designer, with the costume designer, with the lighting person, with the sound person, with the actors. You're creating this whole world, and you're making sure that everything is there. You know, everybody's working together, but you're not teaching those people how to do their jobs. And it's the same for actors. I find it interesting that directors will trust the lighting person or the cinematographer, that they know what they're doing, but they won't trust the actor, and they want to, you know, tell them how to act at times, or give like acting notes or how to say a line. Actors, they know how to tell stories if you cast right.
Yeah.
Okay, they know how to do their jobs. So you got to trust that. You know, you got to make sure that you're not compromising on that. I've done that myself. I direct movies and plays, and I've done that myself because I'm a coach and I'm casting and I'm not finding the right actor for that role. And I'm watching that person and I'm going, he's not quite right, but I know I can get him there because I have the tools. Big mistake, big mistake.
Yeah.
I'm wasting takes on the set, training an actor who is not ready to do the job. You know, so you gotta cast right.
That's so interesting that you say that, because you honed that back on trust, right? Now, one of the things that I often say to actors when I start working with them is, yes, I can give you notes, I can give you an idea of what I was going for in the script, I can give you an idea of how I saw this character, but when we show up to set, I don't want it to be that I know this character better than you. I shouldn't. If I do, something is very wrong here.
Yeah.
And I think a way that someone articulated this to me some years ago was, the director is the holder of the story, the actor is the holder of the character in the story. And the director simply has to, you know, make sure that the individual parts are working and the actor is a part of that. Like, it is a part of it, just like the music is a part of it, the cinematic composition and all of this is a part of it. But then you also touched on trust. And I'm remembering another quote that comes to mind, which is that once trust is lost, the performance is lost. That the potential, at least that existence of potential for a great performance or an honest performance, is lost. So what's one thing that you think, apart from, you know, over directing and giving, you know, lines like "be angrier," say louder,
Well,
what are other things that you think the directors might subconsciously be doing that are breaking trust with their actors that they may not be realizing that they're doing?
one thing I think to understand is that if you've got a real actor, okay, and you say something like,
can you define
angrier,
that? Can you define real actor? I think I know what you
real
mean.
actor, it's tricky. The best kind of wording I can come up with is, the actor's job is to find the heart of the character, okay, and then take that heart and connect it to another character's heart, okay. In that dynamic between two hearts, two human hearts, as character, not actors playing themselves, in that dynamic is where the story shows up. Okay. So, what was the question again?
What is a real actor?
Yeah, I think that's what they do. They are going to come in and they have an ability to allow themselves to become this other persona, to really own and be in the shoes of this other human being. Okay, that's their job. And
without holding back.
yeah.
You know.
Now, if they've gotten
Well, actually,
that
the
way,
question was a two-part question. So the question was that I had asked you like what actors or what directors can do to break the trust, and you had said real actor, and then I had cut you off and
right.
asked you to explain what a real actor was.
So a real actor, if you say angrily, or you say too fast, or you say, too much movement, okay, a real actor will be able to translate that into the character.
Into acting
Okay.
terms, yeah.
So like when you say, guys, it's a close-up, I can't have that much movement. All right. A real actor will know, I need to focus my heart even more on the other person. And if they do that, they will be still. Okay. An actor knows if you say too fast, it has nothing to do with speed. And we've seen that in some of the things we've directed where, yeah, that's faster. And actually the DP will say, actually, it's a little slower than the one before, so it has nothing to do with speed or time.
Yeah.
And the actor will know that means I'm not connected enough to this other person. Every note an actor gets from a coach or a director will be about that dynamic. That
It'll be about the connection, yeah.
The connection between two human hearts. Every note you give, they will transfer into that. And what does that mean?
Yeah, it's like a different way to look at this is that you have a vantage point of view. You're outside looking in, right? So, and you're using all your faculties, okay? So it's very important for people to understand where is the actor when he's telling a story, because he's not in his frontal lobe. He's not using intellect, okay? He's not there. That person is not there. That person is somewhere between that place and the subconscious. Okay, when a real actor finds the character, it's a very interesting process because he becomes somebody else. He's not pretending to be somebody else. He becomes somebody else. A lot of the times when you ask actors or you have a comment, it's, oh, that was awesome. That moment when this happened, and they have no recollection whatsoever about what happened. So you as a director, you're outside, you have the screen, you're checking in, because very different watching actors doing the work in front of you and then looking through a screen. So obviously whatever they're doing over there needs to translate into film, into the screen. So you are that eye. In a sense, you're like God. You're seeing everything.
Don't take that too much.
and the trust, and the trust comes from that. The trust that an actor has on with the director is that you are there to protect me in this environment, because I'm very vulnerable. And if you want me to go there, if you want me to put myself on the line here, to open my heart and go through perhaps this horrible, gruesome scene, that I hope I'll never have to go through in real life, I gotta trust that I am in a safe environment. It's interesting. Like there is a director, Werner Herzog, and you can watch his documentary in the masterclass, and he says that I respect the work of the actors so much that in my films, when I see the actors are on the set and they're getting ready, and I notice the changing energy, I hold the clapper and I'm in front of them. I don't let anyone come close to them. I don't let makeup artists touch up. It's like, no, nobody touch them. They're ready. They're ready to go. And I need this. You cannot ruin this for me. So he doesn't let anyone get close to the actors when he sees that they're ready to tell stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's the trust that the actor has, because an actor does not have an objective point of view when they're telling stories. They don't know what they're doing, quite literally. They can feel it. They'll say like, yeah, I felt off or I felt on in that moment, whatever, something happened and I lost connection over here, but they don't see it. They don't know what's going on. So you are, in a sense, that pair of eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And they need that. I can tell you from my experience as an actor, when you're there and when you're right where you need to be, that camera, that light stand, all those people, they literally disappear. The only thing that's important is my living room here and the fact that kid's going to come through that door at any moment, It's a very different thing, and I like that you said that, Isabel, because an actor is as vulnerable as a human being can be when they're
Yeah.
on that set, and that's a thing that you need to be careful of. Now, again, an actor that's been doing it for a while, he'll know how to handle, you know, the actor that's going to tell, okay, I want you to do this, and from A to B, you know, and do this exactly at this point. He'll have a sense of compassion for the director, because it's, you know, and he'll be able to say, well, this guy should have been an animator, but I can handle this, you know. And they'll really take, still be able to take what they say, right, and translate it into character, and make that note to whatever's happening to make it work from the character's point of view.
That's very interesting, Jack, what you said, because yeah, actors are not, you know, an animation. They're not little puppets.
Right.
They're human beings, and you know, like we said, that are doing, you know, acting is very vulnerable, and sometimes you might trigger depending on how you talk to them, or if the director gets frustrated. So it's all about energy. They'll sense that, like kids in a way. They'll sense that, and then you have a flight or fight reaction, you know, that the actor cannot control because he's in a dangerous situation. You know, acting is not something that is normal. We don't normally put ourselves in that kind of place. So if the environment is not safe for the actor, then those defenses from the subconscious will pop up, and then you're going to have an actor who is very self-aware. You know, and the worst thing you can do is it's to make an actor self-aware. You don't want, when you say it's a close-up, don't move your head. You know, you're too theatrical. Don't move your head. The next 3 takes, you have an actor who is just trying not to move his head. He's not telling a story, you know, and that's not filmable. You cannot film that.
Okay. So I think, you know, a lot of what this workshop is about informing directors not only of what they might be doing that they don't realize that they're doing, but giving them better ideas. So let's take in, you know, a visual director who probably should have been an animator, right? And let's you know, take them as an example of somebody who just wants that perfect frame, and the actor, you know, moves their head off frame. They just keep popping off frame, and they can't have it because the lighting is there. How do you tell that to that actor? Because not every actor is coming from Straeon. Not every actor is equipped with the tool to then translate what the director is saying back into it. So apart from the obvious, you know, go to Straeon and figure it out, what can a director do in that moment to work with that actor?
Well, like we've said, I mean, extraordinary actors have been around throughout the history of acting. Okay, what we're doing is nothing really new or unique in terms of getting actors where we know they need to be, and they've been doing it for centuries. How would you answer that?
Well, yeah, I think it's important before. So here's the thing: the processes that the actors go through. You know, the actors, when they're creating a character, when they get a script and they're creating that character, they go through many different processes. So they go through the intellectual, analytical, impulse, instinct processes to the creative, which is kind of what people call being in the zone, you know. So that's when you don't have control anymore. I mean, you don't want to go watch a show like a concert, you know, and have the musicians just give me 30 minutes, I need to warm up or do my scales, you know. You just want them to play the music and you want to enjoy it. So that's what an actor is doing in front of a camera. If you have a scene that is extremely technical, I suggest you talk to the actor before you start filming and explain to that actor, you know, maybe even show the frame to that actor. Like, this is your frame, it's very tight. I cannot have a whole lot of movement, because the actor is there, not the character in that moment. You understand? You're talking to the actor. And the actor is going to throw that note to the back of his brain to the character. Okay. Yeah. So the character will make that adjustment that Jock was talking about to the character. That means I'm really focused on this other person, so I don't move, which is a natural reaction that most human beings do
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
really focus on something. There is very little movement because it's all to do with energy. What I'm doing is I'm using that whole energy, let's say in a wide shot, that I can move around, I can pick an object. And when I go to a close-up, it's the same energy, but it's focused,
Right. Right.
so I'm not moving that much.
So I would say there's nothing wrong with you being that direct and telling them, hey, but like Isabel says, show them, here's the frame, this is what, and you keep moving at them and be direct to them. And they will take that. A good actor is going to translate that into character, to use it as a point of focus, and you'll have the stillness in the frame that you need. But what you don't want is an actor that's frozen because the way it was told to him was in a way that was not compassionate. Okay.
Yeah.
It could be that you'll freeze them at that point. And as Isabel said, you'll make them too self-aware.
Yeah. Reassure them, because like I said, they don't have an outside perspective. So you can say, like, let's say they're moving too much during the close-up, and you can say, that's great. Okay, that's awesome. I like this or that, whatever. Point out what's nice. And then, but now I really need a still one because I'm really close in on you right now. So if you move, you're going to be out of focus or you're going to be out of the frame. So I really need you to focus all that energy, but if you have a director who's frustrated, then the actors will sense that. And then they'll start trying to please the director. And that's what you don't want.
Right.
I think absolutely. There's a baked-in understanding that the director should have answers. I've felt that, from people, and I've talked to directors who also feel that sense of anxiety and what happens when you don't have an answer, right? Do people start to respect you less, especially if you're not an established director who might be working with, or you're very young, or you're a female director who's working with a lot of men and you have a lot of baked-in anxieties and understandings of that. So I think one of the things that Scott and Dakota said yesterday during our Anchorage Q&A was honesty, just being honest and being a good person. I think that it's a lot of things take care of themselves with those two attributes in your hand. It would sometimes when an actor has a question for a director, the director does not have an actual answer. Why is my room blue? And I think always there's a decision to be made as a director there of, okay, I'm going to be honest and say I don't know.
Yep.
Yes.
Or I'm going to bullshit and say it's blue because it's the character's favorite color, XYZ.
Just be honest, just be honest.
Be on it. I mean,
and sometimes you don't need to be intellectual about it. I remember working with this director, and I was really lost. Was one of the very first projects I was working on. I had no idea how to be an actor. Like I said, I was like 6 months into acting school, had never done this before, and I'm working with these people who are well known, and they've been doing this for 25, 30 years. And I'm over there, and then I'm like, can you tell me what's going on exactly with my character? It's like I'm not getting it. And the director, who was very compassionate, he looked at me, and he had no idea how to talk to actors. And then he was like, "It's like there is a black cloud all over you." And I was like, "Got it." Okay, got it. Like, he just gave me a picture, it was very visual. It's like he gave me a picture, and then I understood what was going on emotionally with my character.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that was a stupid thing to say or anything, but I guess that a lot of directors are and I think they're right in being like that. They're kind of hoping the actors are going to show them the story.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what we try to tell our actors. Like, you go in there, you have to be an artist, you have to be professional, you have to sign your work. You're not going there to have a director tell you what to do. They don't know what you do. They want you to go there and tell the story, and they'll be supporting that for you.
I think the most important thing is don't try to be an acting coach. Okay. An acting coach is a weird animal. Okay. Be what they want you to be as their director. Okay. I'm in this world. I can't see it. I know my job. I know I need to, it's life or death for me in this scene on some level. I need this other character more than anything. I need you to tell me what it looks like,
Yeah.
what's not working, and be really upfront with it. Again, you can see if you've cast the right people, that's all you have to do. They know their job. They'll know what to do.
Yeah.
There's a casting director in LA who I can't mention. Okay. But if an actor, this is how you weed this thing out. If an actor comes in and says, how would you like me to do this? This casting director tells them, I would like you to leave. Okay. Because I expect you to come in and show me how to do the scene. You come in and show me something. That's what you should approach auditions. This has happened many times with us, as if I want you, here's the script. I have an idea. I have a vision. I want you to come in here and show me the character that I'm looking for, rather than having
a very empowering message.
Yeah.
It's a very empowering message. And I think that's one thing that you do at Straeon is you empower performers.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how, so there's a few questions here.
Cool.
Sorry, I think I have
we like questions.
I have a mild case of ADHD right now. Okay, so the first question, I was going to save this for the end, but here, do you have courses on directing?
Not currently. Really. Jock and I wanted to do one in the past, which would be sort of having directors come in and watch the scene work that we do with actors, and then having a second day just with the directors that they get to talk about, what they saw and ask questions, what we were trying to do with the actors over there, and sort of like have a back and forth.
Yeah, we may still do that. I mean, if enough of you are interested, we might do that. But in terms of, everything a director has to be a real generalist. You've got to have a fair amount of knowledge about everything, that's involved in making a film. So we don't do that. But in terms of directors that want to see what actors do and how we coach them and how we direct them, then we might end up doing one of those.
Absolutely. That would be, I think that would be so interesting because, you talk about actors staying current, up to date, Zoom. I think I've talked to a lot of directors, and I'm not going to name names, but some of them are living in the 80s right now. Like they're just stuck. They're stuck there, right? My biggest fear as a 30-something-year-old is that one day I'm going to wake up and be like, I'm stuck in a generation and I can't move past it. Like with all the stuff coming out, like NFTs and crypto and all this stuff, it's like move. It's like because you have to stay current because we're so connected as a society. It's like to allow 80% of the world to move past you. It's very daunting. So I think it's good. It's important for directors to stay current with their skill set and make sure that they understand and not try to enforce their 80s, 90s, 2000s mantra. We have another question here. This is a little bit more specific. There's a few general questions that I think have been answered already, but here's one that's specific. It says, should directors offer offer actors backstories and breakdowns?
What do they mean by breakdowns?
That's a good question.
Like a description of the characters and stuff like that, and the overall plot.
I guess like script breakdown is probably what they meant. I remember Guillermo del Toro. I believe he offered 13 pages of backstory about a particular character for, if it was Pan's Labyrinth, if I'm not mistaken, or for The Shape of Water, and it's interesting, to have a director who knows that character so well, but is that advisable?
It all depends. Again, every process is different. For example, I have a story. Many years ago, I went into an audition. I was auditioning for a supporting role, and in the spot, the director was like, "Would you mind reading for the lead role?" Which was like an Asian, described as an Asian girl. And I was like, okay. I go out. They give me 5 minutes. I go out and I come back in, and it's a very kind of intense, flirting scene, very sensual scene. but the actor wasn't there, or the reader, the male reader wasn't there for whatever reason. So I had to read with this girl, and it was in the moment. They were not casting for the lead that day. So my reader was feeling very uncomfortable doing that kind of scene with me for whatever reason, which worked in my favor because it's a very awkward scene. And I got the part. When I go on the set, they have the male actor over there, and we're doing the scene. And it was very cute, very fluffy, very kind of romantic comedy kind of thing. And the director says, like, guys, that was great, but that's not the movie. And I was like, okay, remember what it felt like in the audition? I was like, yeah, but I have a different actor here. You know, it's very different. And then he goes like, yeah, this is like a romantic movie, but David Lynch-like. And then the two of us right away, we were like, gotcha. And then we changed, and it was awkward, and we didn't know how to flirt with the other person, and very uncomfortable, but very exciting at the same time. So in that sense, I wish the director had told me, you know, what kind of movie or what kind of overall feeling or genre or whatever that he was going for. Yeah. Because you have to understand that the dynamics, if you change an actor, and you put somebody else, that dynamic is going to be very different. Yeah. You know, that's the whole casting thing. Like, you want to make sure that those actors have a chemistry. It's like a puzzle. They have a chemistry, and they're all on the same page. Yeah. So depending on if you're doing something like a Pan's Labyrinth, by all means, give me a lot of clues about what you're doing. You don't see that kind of film. I mean, at least back then, like, you didn't see that kind of film everywhere. If you're doing something that is very different, by all means, paint the reality so I know exactly what world I'm walking into. Yeah, and it's good. I mean, if that's the information you want the actor to know, get that out before the auditions, you know, so that if that's what you're talking about, breakdowns, don't get real specific about, you know, what you want the actor to do, but that idea of the feeling, or this is the story I'm trying to tell, this is how I kind of want to tell it, that's valuable to them. And I kind of feel that this character is this way, rather than saying, this is what I want, this is what the character should be. I have this kind of feeling about this character. That's fine. In terms of a backstory, you have to be very careful. Okay, every actor is unique. That will that can kill the creativity in a certain kind of intuitive actor. You might just kill it. All right. Some actors it might be okay for. Some actors may say, can you tell me more about the character, how you see him, you know, and be honest and say, well, you know, when he was a kid, I think his father wasn't present, or something like that. You know, you can help him that way. But if you were to say, here's the backstory of your character, you might lose the perfect actor for the role. And make sure that if you're working with a casting, if you're hiring a casting director to do that for you, okay, make sure that they understand your project, what we just talked about. Make sure that they understand the atmosphere of the film. You know, sometimes you have script writers who have a very specific writing style, so the dialogue has a very specific flavor to it, and you want a casting director to you know, bring your actors to that reality, help them to understand this is what we're looking for, very high energy or very low key, you know, so they need to know what you're looking for. I heard a casting agent from the United States, I think last Monday, and she was talking about that, like, since COVID, so we're getting a lot of self-tapes, which is great because we can see a lot more people than before. However, sometimes I feel bad for them because I'm not there as a casting agent, and they're sending me stuff that is completely off, like, from the project. It's not even in the same genre because they didn't do their homework. They didn't research the scriptwriter or the director, you know, because they don't have any idea how this movie is going to feel or look like. And without the casting director over there, they're completely lost. So I think that it's, like I said, you're the director, you have the vision for this film. You know, if we give the same script to another director, we're going to have a completely different vision for that film. So it's very important that the director communicates that vision to everyone. You'll do that with your cinematographer. You'll do that with your lighting designer. Right. Why not with your actors? Yeah.
And get that out before the auditions. If you're using a casting director, stand over their shoulders a lot. If they're going to write the breakdown for these characters, be very careful about that. You should be writing those breakdowns and keeping it very open. Don't forget, hopefully you're going to see, this has happened to us once. We were casting a movie and we had this character. We wrote the script as well. We had a character that we were pretty sure was going to be a 20-year-old black sort of effeminate character. One of the actors that we had worked with in Boston, he showed up, and Jack is like 60-something years old, white. Okay. And he said, guys, I'm so sorry. I just looked at the breakdown and I realized I'm totally wrong, but I'm here. Would it be okay if I auditioned anyway? And we said, sure, go ahead, Jack. And Isabel describes it. Describe how that went. That was
It's like, I was just being nice. It's like, sure, you made all the way here. Like, we're here. Let's just do it, But I was like, that's so wrong. I was thinking, like, that's so wrong for that character. And he starts doing the scene, and I'm like, he's so wrong for this character. Why do I like it so much? Wait a minute, what's going on here? It's like, I love this. Oh, and then we rewrote the part for him because he just brought a so many different dimensions to that character.
Yeah, he did. He brought a fatherly kind of energy that really made the relationship between him and the lead actor really work way more than we thought. Don't forget, Aliens was written for a man. All right. And she showed up and nobody had, the balls
courage
to tell her that she was in the wrong. Okay. And it was rewritten. House is supposed to be a medical student, not the lead doctor. Okay. And again, a casting director said, you got to see this guy. I mean, he's totally wrong. He has a British accent and he's too old and everything, but you might use him as a patient sometime. And that night it was rewritten, Officer and a Gentleman. What's his name who plays the Marine Corps sergeant? I forget. The cast description for that is an overweight, white, Southern Marine Corps sergeant. So this is what you have. Be open, even on a set, be open, because you're going to have two good actors that are in the moment, and they are going to do extraordinary choices that no screenwriter, no director, no actor could have preconceived. Now, that's when I think, after you shoot a scene and everybody in that room sits there and goes, oh my God, who thought this scene was going to be like that? That was so good, Now you're making a film. Now you're creating something that nobody has preconceived.
Yeah, it's so interesting how often these workshops boil down to a certain point where you just get to a point where you're like, okay, so the best way to direct is to become a better person and to become more open. And so if you become a good person and you become more open to experience, you will effectively automatically start doing a lot of the things you're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so we have this, what advice would you give to give actors on how to talk to directors that are not open to listening? Good question.
It's tough. I mean, for actors, what we tell our actors, it's to always be true to the story. I tell them, like, this is like a religion. I tell them that, like, acting is like a religion. You serve one person and that's the story. Okay. So if the director is out of hand, if the director is like frustrated, or maybe you, like you said, you're working with a young director with not a whole lot of experience, you have, I know it's hard, but you have to focus on your scene partner and that story, because that's all you got. If you don't have a leader outside, that's all you got. And you know how to do your job, and you're going to do that. Maybe in between scenes, you can go there and then have a heart-to-heart conversation with the director, but not when you're doing a scene. You still have to do your job no matter what. I know it's extremely hard. But that's the nature of the beast, Sometimes you're working with not very pleasant people.
Yeah.
And that's like people's skills, right?
If possible, and of course it all depends on the part and stuff. If you have a small part, you can't really do what I'm going to talk about. But I think if you have a good supporting role or something like that, make sure before you say yes that you talk to the director.
Yes.
And you let them know, this is how I like to work. How are you with that? I have a couple problems with the script. Are you and the screenwriter willing to, work a little bit on that? Before you say, yeah, Ian McKellen says that. He says, I get a script. If I like it, I say I'm interested. Then then I say, who's directing? If I talk to him and I like what his work, then I'm still interested. Then I want to know who these other actors are. And if I've seen their work and I think this can work, then I'll say yes. So I think actors need to do that. But as Isabel was saying, if you have somebody that wants it absolutely this way, do one take true to the story and true to the other character, connected to the other character. Okay. And then after they say cut and the director says, no, I told you to do it this way. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you can say, oh, sorry, stupid actor.
That happened to me already.
And then do the take that they want. All right. And in the editing room, they will see the difference.
Yeah. It was actually the opposite that happened to me once. Like the director is very it was a young director. And he was very specific about what he wanted. And there was a take that we had that was so authentic and so in the moment, and it had nothing to do with what he had asked. It just happened that way. And he was like, that's it. That's exactly what I want. It had nothing to do, What I find it interesting is when actors are really in the moment and they're, doing their thing, and the characters show up, because the characters can't do any wrong. You know what I mean? The characters are there. It's their world. It's their reality. When the actor really finds the character, they can do no wrong. Imagine, we've been coaching for, I've been coaching for more than 10 years, Jock for 150. And we've seen the same scenes played out so many times by different actors. And every single time we watch those scenes, they're absolutely different. Yeah. And then once in a while, you have a very interesting combination of actors over there that gives you a version of that scene that is unthinkable, and it's wonderful, and it's one of the best things I've ever seen. Yeah. When the actor finds the character can do no wrong. Yeah. They just know they are that person. It's just like I cannot say, Robert, you're not yourself.
You could say that. You could say that.
But you all know, as directors, you have a shooting script that goes to the set, and then
ideally.
if you've got, true.
You're not like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to figure it out last minute. Yeah.
But you're sitting, and you've got everything's working. Cinematographer, the lighting, key gear, everything, and your actors are hot. Okay. What ends up on that film is not going to be what was on the script many times, because they're in that atmosphere. Things are going to happen that are even better. I had a well-known screenwriter tell me, I don't expect this to be what's in the film. He said, this is my best attempt at guiding all these creative artists to where I think the story might be. And he said, a script is a map to a story. It's not a story.
Yeah, it's different. That's a good point. It's to understand that actors are not playing a script.
Yeah.
They're not. Okay, it's two different art forms. Acting is an art form in itself. Script writing is an art form in itself. Filmmaking is an art form in itself. Filmmaking is the most collaborative art form in the whole planet, because we borrow from everything. Music, fashion, everything is there. But the actors, they have an art form, which is acting. Yep. Okay. And I tell that to my actors. Sometimes you have people who are just starting out, and then you have this scene that goes pretty much like, I have the script in front of me, and it goes pretty much as it's written. Line, pause, pick up the water bottle, line. There's nothing in between. There's no life to it. And I tell them, are you a piece of paper? Are you a script? Are you a piece of paper? No. Like, we're human beings. Then please be a human being when you're doing the scene. Put your heart into it, put some breath into it. It's the script is just a map. It's not really the world. You're adapting from script writing into
Right.
acting. It cannot be the same. It cannot.
Right.
Hmm.
Other questions?
Okay. Well, I think this has been answered to some extent. What can actors do? You alluded to Werner Herzog, doing that. I myself, when I've been a producer on a film, and I won't name the film, but there was something going on with the actor, and I didn't like that the director was doing that, so I just put my foot down. I was like, nope, we cannot do this, or I'm leaving, and I left. So I think that trust is really important. But what are other things that you think we haven't touched on, things that, because I think that you talked about it, being safe. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? I recently I've looked at this hierarchy many times, and I've looked at it always in the sense of the top, and then I focus on the bottom, and I take the bottom for granted usually. But it was recently, it dawned on me that you can't focus on self-actualization when you're hungry
Right. Good point.
and you haven't drank water. Like, you cannot be worried about you. So this is a pyramid for a reason, that ultimately at the bottom of the pyramid, if the foundation is cracked, then the whole thing falls.
Yeah.
And I think safety is right there at the very, very bottom for every human being, every actor, to feel safe with their director, with their cast, right? So what's something that maybe directors maybe aren't monitoring closely enough that they can do to help someone feel safe?
It's kind of what you're talking. I mean, the communication is very important. Make sure you have an open communication, like you hopefully do with all the crew people. Maybe that's another thing. Make sure you there used to be this old wall between the tech and the creative. That nobody could cross, and that everybody was mad at the other people on the other side of the wall. That's changing, I think. I hope. Okay. And I think be careful about, that you have the right tech people too, you have the whole thing is right. And I think generally, and then maybe some specific things, but as a director, when I'm directing, I know I need to create an environment where every artist on that set knows they have the freedom to go beyond what they've done before, that they know I trust them. I know they're good, and I want them to have the freedom to do something extraordinary, including my actors.
I think there's some specific things that I can talk about how I like to work. Obviously, it's filmmaking is like family. When you find the right people, you want to work with them all the time. You see that in Hollywood. Martin and Scorsese will always hire the same people, including the actors, because they know it works. It's a well-oiled machine. We talk the same language. So with actors, what I try to do, because I've been an actor, I direct, is always to reassure them. Like I said, they're like little kids in a way. That's playtime. Okay. Acting should be fun. Even if you're doing a horror film or whatever, it should be fun. It shouldn't feel like you're destroying yourself emotionally and you're going to have 15 years of therapy after. But as a director, I feel almost like they're a mom in a way. So I'm always trying to reassure them. Like, I do a few takes and I see that my actress is a little bit, insecure. Am I doing a good job? So I'll tell her, like, that was awesome. Okay. I love that take. Now let's try something else. Or sometimes I'm just like, I say cut and I'm just nodding my head and they look at me. And an actress once told me that, like, after that take, you were nodding your head and you had a smile on your face. And from that point on, I felt really confident about what I was doing. And it's having that sort of relationship with them. It's holding them by the hand and say, like, I know you're about to jump off this cliff. I gotcha. When you get to the bottom, I'm going to be there with everything that you need so you land safely. And it's always reassuring them. It's very important. I talk to my tech people before we start filming, and I tell them nobody talks to my actors except me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I might tell my cinematographer, like, you can, if they ask you for the frame, you can tell them. Obviously, you don't have to look at me and I tell them the frame, but nobody gives them acting notes. Nobody tells them to move to the light in the middle of take 4, or whatever. If you have a technical problem, you tell me and I'll talk to them. Because it's, like I said, an actor is not in a very intellectual place or rational place when he or she is acting. They are in a very vulnerable, emotional, almost subconscious space. So if you have 5 different people telling them what to do, they're like headless chickens. Okay. So they need one voice. It's like, you are my consciousness, the director, you are the consciousness. So you are the one who speaks. I'm talking about on set, at least, like you're the only one who talks to that actor, so you, like I said, you're the outside perspective. You are their eyes. And so I think a lot of, like you said, I think you mentioned this, Robert, at the beginning, if you're going to be a filmmaker or an actor, anything that is related to filmmaker, working on yourself as a human being is very important.
Incredibly important. And I sometimes think of conflicts between actors and directors. I mean, obviously I think every actor has worked with a couple of directors where it wasn't necessarily a conflict, but they walked away from that situation saying never again. But it wasn't like a blow up. There wasn't like a giant situation where someone had to quit on set. And usually I would compare this, or maybe draw a parallel to when two bad drivers meet on the road. So it's usually like, there's always that one driver on the road who's a complete lunatic, and everyone just avoids them. It's just like, it's perfect because the rest of us are all not drunk and totally sane. But then it's like when two, that's usually when you get a car crash. And I think that it's so important what Straeon does, because what you are doing is, I mean, if I can be very candid, I don't think most directors know how to direct. I really don't. I think the Pendants, like the directors we select at Pendants, hell yes, like incredible. And it's not me tooting our own horn. And for directors out there who don't understand that process of working with your crew and working with your cast, you think that it's not showing up in your film, but it is. When we watch it as programmers, we can tell that actor hates her director, that DP and that actor were like, they were in conflict that day. It's showing up on screen. It's like you're capturing, it's almost like documentary filmmaking. You're creating something and you're capturing this moment, and these moments live forever. So it's boil it down to a simple point: go to therapy, become a better person, grow as a human being, and stop asking people to do it. We do have a comment here. So, love taking your course. I've never acted before, but your coaching made it so accessible and felt empowered.
Camille,
That's cool.
And we have a final question here for you. It's will you have in-person classes in Toronto soon?
We've been thinking about it since COVID. We used to be there every week, but since COVID, we migrated into Zoom classes. But we're talking about doing an intensive workshop in the summer.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. If you do ever, if you do open up a course for directors, and I'll let all of our local directors know about this. And I'm so appreciative for the work that you do, not just for you coming on to this panel, but just for the work that you do as coaches and as a studio. I think it's so important for our community to have actors who are empowered, who understand their jobs. And are able to come to sets and work with directors who maybe don't understand their jobs.
Well, thank you, Robert.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the things you've said about us. Not just here, but
and for inviting us to be here. It's a lot of fun.
really, it's a pleasure. And also, if people are interested and have more questions, you can give them my email address. I would be happy to answer any questions they have.
Absolutely. Let's let me just type in right now into the website. So it's www. Oh yeah, you be putting in. Yeah, can you put it in the private chat, and then I can just copy paste.
Yeah. By the way, you can audit class for free. If you want to check it out, we have an online class over Zoom on Wednesdays. You can let Jock know, or if you're in Montreal, you can come and check it out as well.
Right. The Zoom
Awesome.
class, if you're in Toronto, is pretty exciting. We started it just kind of as, oh, it's
Alternative to
COVID, we got
COVID.
to do something. After about 3 or 4 months, they got pretty incredible, and they're working a lot now because they're so good at self-tapes and they're so good at knowing what the
Working with
camera.
a camera.
Yeah. So that's
Okay,
one to look at too.
so we got Max. Okay, perfect. Mac at straeonactingclasses.com. If you have questions about auditing class or just want to know more about Straeon, feel free to give him an email. If you know us as Pendants, we highly recommend it, 100%. So many people who've taken these classes, so many people who are lifers, and again, not to repeat myself, I really appreciate the work that you do.
Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Have fun.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.